something to look forward to when it's otherwise pretty.
Yes.
All right, it is Monday, 5/21 at 3 o'clock. Thank you all for agreeing to participate in this study. Before we begin, I would like to emphasize a few things. First of all, to protect your privacy and the privacy of others participating in this research study, please identify for any of the study participants by name. Second, for the purposes of this study, learning analytics data is defined as data about learners or learning environments that are studied and leveraged to improve learning and learning environments. This does not include confidential data. UNC takes data confidentiality and data protection very seriously, and many members of our university work to ensure student data is protected and in compliance with applicable state and federal laws. This study is looking at data streams that fall into a gray area and may or may not be protected by federal or state law that may be used for a variety of reasons, such as quality control, marketing, or research purposes. The goal of this study is to understand what members of the UNC community know about analytics, how it is used in the classroom for assessment or other purposes, and desires of the community as far as professional development opportunities for faculty and potential future university policies. Are there any questions before we begin? Okay, so please briefly identify your main role at UNC. Are you an undergraduate or graduate student, faculty member, staff, or administrator? Formally, please identify yourself based on your greatest % effort. Please do not say your name or potentially identifying information. For example, if you're the dean of NHS, please do not say, I am the dean of NHS.
Oh, graduate student.
Also a graduate student. Staff.
Okay. All right, so what do you currently know about big data? So what may, for example, you've heard about in the news?
Big data.
Big data in general?
Anything you know about big data?
I think of crowdsourcing information, stuff like Google Maps, traffic, open source data, like apps and stuff like that, and things like marketing stuff and social media.
Social media is where my mind goes to, using all of that information, all that data for analytics.
And publicly available data sets. Pretty much it, in addition to social media.
So what are some examples of data sharing that you already engage in? So for example, this could be apps on your phone like Google Maps or Runkeeper, or participating in a frequent shopper or a customer loyalty program such as King Soopers Rewards, or using some kind of online platform like Facebook or Amazon.
Facebook and Amazon.
Yeah.
And several apps, I'm sure, yes.
What kind of apps?
See those. I'm mostly thinking of social media, Facebook, Instagram, those kinds of things. I'm trying to think if I do anything else. I don't really have any shopping apps or anything like that.
I have a King Soopers card.
Yeah. King Soopers, Safeway, Fred Meyer.
Yeah, if that's the local grocery store. And some of them are in disuse now, but I'm sure they're keeping track of information.
Then there's also the store tracking when you're actually in the store.
Oh, what's that? Tell me more.
Like when you're in King Soopers, they monitor the number of people actually in the store, where you are progressing throughout the store. They check little lotto balls up on a picture.
Interesting. Okay.
It says how many lanes are open for checkout now, how many there should be, and how many they anticipate having in a half hour, so that they can get you through faster.
I didn't know that's what those were for.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Look out for those. Yeah, that's cool.
They're tracked on the carts mostly, but they also have, with security, they also have people trackers. In addition to that, if there is an emergency, they can see who's in the building and how many are in the building and need to be evacuated.
Grocery store's a lot safer than I thought it would be. That's cool. I use, sometimes I'll use things like eBird, the citizen science apps, iNatural and eBird, and I thought I had another one, but I'm forgetting what it is. So I must not use it very much. I use Facebook too. Yeah, Facebook and Amazon.
And Google, of course.
Yeah.
Google, yeah, Google's logged in every time, so I guess it's tracking what YouTube videos I watch and things like that too. I bet our Amazon Fire Stick is tracking everything we watch as well, because it'll do recommendations based on what each of us has been watching.
Like Netflix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We
because
have
you watch
Echo.
this. watch this.
Do you have an
Yeah,
idea?
Echo's probably
Okay.
listening to us. We have an Echo too. How much data that takes in, it kind of creeps me out.
What's
a
an
little.
echo?
It's this like little speaker thing that is almost like a Hey Siri,
Oh, okay.
but you say like Hey Alexa or Alexa, and you can tell it to do stuff. Like Alexa, play this album, and then if it can, it'll play this album. And Alexa, louder. Like Alexa, stop. What's the weather?
I just called it. I just
Yeah.
said it's called Alexa.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it's always there, and sometimes it's just always listening. Creepy.
And smart TVs.
Smart TVs.
What were some of the other examples that you had listed?
So apps like Google Maps, Runkeeper, Frequent Shopper, Kingers.
I do
if you
Fitbit.
Fitbit.
Yeah.
Mega data.
Frequent flyer programs would count too.
Okay.
Portafly.
I can't think of anything else that I put log numbers into. Can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. So a little bit about tech that you kind of use throughout your day-to-day lives. Let's switch the conversation talking about the classroom. So what do you know about big data in education? So in particular, learning analytics data. So what do you know about learning analytics for assessments, or how we can get information about what students know about material, or information about their practices, like how many hours they spend logged into some camp. What are maybe some examples of technologies you use in your classroom as either a faculty member or a student to generate data about students or learning? How do you use them? Are you using them as assessments, or using them for other reasons? And so feel free to respond to any of those questions.
So the like student tracker on Canvas was not something a thing until I was an instructor in a course, and I thought that was really cool. I haven't done any like data analysis on it, but I would check on particular students that way.
Are you talking about the one that's like tells you how many minutes they've been on Canvas in the past
Right.
week or
Like
something
how many
like that?
comments they've had, or attendance
Yeah.
rate and grade and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I remember looking at a grade book. I don't remember if it was Canvas or Blackboard when I had this, but it was like told me the last time they logged in or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's keeping tabs on them. And I think in the course evals at the end of the year, students self-report how many times they log themselves into
Yes, they do.
to the class.
Not at this institution, but at a previous one, it was before the instructors just set up in-class quizzes. There were more means of gauging involvement and interaction with material, but it would be 10 quick questions that as you're going through the slides, something typically dull, the students would respond to a question cumulatively contributing extra credit or whatever. The institution instructors used it in the drier topics or in the more complex topics for them to really understand if the students get it before test time.
I do kind of the same thing. At the end of each lab, I like to ask them a couple questions about what they feel they're comfortable with from that lab, or if they're confusing, and for that, just casually afterwards to see if I can alter what I'm saying the next time to make it better.
Okay, so what do you know about the analytics or data that's captured by educational technologies? So if you're a student, have you ever looked at metrics logged into Canvas, or analyses produced by SSC? So that's the Student Success Collaborative. It's a software used by the university for advising and making predictions about students at risk for dropping out of their major. So if you're an undergraduate, your advisor may or may not have shared that with you. So how does that impact your learning? If you're a faculty member, do you look at metrics about your students? Use the pedagogy or to assess students, why or why not? And if the university provided professional development about best practices for using learning analytics data, would you participate? Why or why not?
I do, like I said, I use the information gathered by Canvas casually. If there was some kind of guide on how to better how to explore it in general, I would appreciate that. I think that would be useful.
Yeah, I never specifically tried to infer anything from my students based on their Canvas data that I could have looked at. I saw it was there, but I guess I would assume that the students who logged in more often were to their grade and, ergo cared more about keeping their grades up than the students who didn't log in as often, but I never transferred that to me tailoring how I treated the students.